So the cars are still coming in, and as I mentioned, there are 140 cars in this race, and that's an amazing Mercedes-Benz. Looks like in late 50s, early 60s. Old Buick. Well, maybe not. It could be a Chrysler. I know Buick. Yeah, it is a Buick. I know Buick had that emblem in the front, and it used to have, like in the mid 50s, it would have the year. Boy, that's a big car. You can just tell the difference between, holy crap, look at that dash, between Buick and Chevrolet, just the size of this car. And I always love that chrome accent. And it was such an amazing, each manufacturer in General Motors that I'm referring to, each one had a different design team. So they really had a free range as far as the way they designed their vehicles. Another early Corvette. Love the patina.
That's it. So like this year's will be these. So if we get more of these.
Now that is a Bentley, and the reason I know is you see the hood ornament. That is freaking cool. Not sure of the year. I'll get to the other side where I'm not fighting my shadow. Wow. So here's their navigator's logbook, and it's very meticulous from what I understand. You turn right, go 40 miles an hour, and for so many miles, and then you turn it another. So it's very complicated, and you need a navigator, and it's a team of two, and it requires both to participate. And then right next to it, you have a Galaxy 500.
It is. You too, man.
All right, well, I'm not supposed to be talking, folks, and you man the car.
All right.
All right,
I can man the car.
let's see, trivia.
Trivia?
What engine division?
No, it's 347.
He told me we ran last.
When he was telling me to look at all
So here's an LS swap. So you can see that just every car you come to is just something unique, something different. There's their clipboard with their route and their clock. Wow. Look at the size of that wheel and tire. Excuse me. My gosh.
Yeah.
So this is another American LaFrance. Look at the distance between the cowl and the firewall, what we would call nowadays, in the front of the vehicle. So it's an American LaFrance, 1917. I'll see if I can get around, get this information. So 14.5 liter T-head. That other LaFrance I shot, you can see that video. That was a T-head engine as well. 105 horsepower, 38-inch wheels. Top speed. And then I was asking the gentleman that owns the 1918 American LaFrance, and he said there's a guy in Pennsylvania that can work on these, and his is chain driven as well. And he's the American LaFrance expert. Very impressive. So that's an MG. Excuse me.
We're just talking about the sketch about it. Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, it also helps me out. Like the rule.
1951 Ford. And earlier I was saying I wish they would have a placard, and this guy has a placard. Look at those taillights. Never really liked this steering wheel on this model of Ford, this era, but it's, I guess, an acquired taste. And then you got the louvered hood to keep that flathead cool. And that's a pretty clean flathead.
Big guy down there?
And then look at this Mercedes-Benz.
I think he had two. I'm almost positive.
230S. And this is when Mercedes just made an amazing automobile. Unfortunately, the windows are up.
I consider buying a resto mod.
But beautiful lines. I got to show the tail end. Beautiful lines, and they just were so tight back then. The doors and the trunk, the hood, the way they fit. Porsche. And look at that Falcon wagon. Boy, yes, sir.
The yellow one and the beast. Did you
Okay.
get both of them.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay. All right.
And I gave you one of my cards so you can check that video out.
Okay.
Yeah. That was a big help. Thank you.
Yep.
Have a great day. So I had a 64 Falcon wagon like this. It was two-door. And the original, yeah, here we go. I had the same seat covers. So you can see the steer. Wow. This is cool. So I had a 64, I'll see if I can drop a picture below. I had a 64 Falcon wagon, similar to this. I bought it out in California, and my wife and I drove it from California to St. Louis on Route 66. It took us 9 days to get home. The car kept overheating. I bought it off of Bring a Trailer. The guy I bought it from, I told him I'm flying from St. Louis and I'm going to drive it back on Route 66. And he said, I'll have my mechanic go through it and get it all ready. You're going to be in great shape. I think it overheated 20 minutes into the drive. And it took us 9 days to get home. It was such a frustrating trip for my wife, although I absolutely loved it. And it taught me so much about Route 66 and about old cars and overheating. And I had to leave. We'd wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I want to shoot this beautiful pinstriping back here. Oh, we gotta get with the sun. So anyway, overheating, so we had to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and travel Route 66 through the desert when the temperatures were cool, and I drove with the heater on full blast the whole way home, and it took us 9 days to get home. It was I loved the trip. I did not shoot video. I should have. It was probably 12 years ago, maybe, when I did that. Then the next year, we went out and I bought a Galaxy 500 and it overheated. I bought that in San Diego, which San Diego is pretty nice weather. It overheated going downhill, leaving the dealership. I took it back and the guy put it on consignment. He's like, I'm not going to unwind it, but I'll put it on consignment. And I trusted him. And then I went to a Cars and Coffee, the first Cars and Coffee I ever went to in LA. And I ended up buying a 1996 Buick Roadmaster wagon. And my wife and I drove that back 80 miles an hour through the desert with the air conditioning on and had no trouble whatsoever. So, complete reversal of our previous trip.
We'll go back that way.
I have no idea what that car is, but it's pretty wild. Check out the lights on there. It's probably a motorcycle light, but it's pretty damn cool. And that's probably like a 70, 71 Mustang. And I don't know what, it's a Chrysler or a Mopar. I'm not sure if it's a Valiant. So it's a Plymouth, which Plymouth made the Valiant, but I don't know what. And then this is a Buick Riviera. What an amazing vehicle the Riviera was. And this is a fine example. Look at that interior. Just so over-the-top elegant. And elegant's the right word to use for it. And you can see the plaque right there below the temperature control. So this is a nail head. You can see by the valve covers how it's flat. And so this is a 465 Wildcat. And boy, this car is clean. And so these had the, let me get my shadow, hideaway headlights, but the door would open sideways. And then you got a Jeep, which this thing is clean as a whistle. Look at this interior. Such a great event. And the various classes. I'll get around this tree. And here's their clipboard. So their navigation, their stopwatch, and their timing. Everything is based upon timing. It requires a navigator. Wowee. Look at that. That is amazing.
Hey, Roger, we found it.
Look at the four-wheel drive shift over here on the passenger side. Just amazing. Metal dash. Boy, the eye candy. More you look, the more you see. And a small key. Beautiful. And see how they got the speedometer covered up. You'll see that on all these vehicles because they're timing themselves based upon this large clock. Let me get on the other side. It's all based upon the clock, not their speedometer. And there's the clock there. And so the Great Race issues you a clock, from what I understand. So here's an F100. There's an F250 I was talking about earlier. And this looks like maybe a 57 Chevy. Yep. 57 looked great outside. I just don't like the interior, the dash. The 55 dash was just, to me, was the best looking dash. So we got a Camaro, then we've got a another Ford, and this is a 56 or a 55 or a 56. So you can see the dash is totally different, and in that metal inlay in the dash, I can't really show you because the window's not down, but those are all little bow ties, and this is probably a 55. Such a difference between the 55 and 57. Man, look at that. So I would imagine this is a Galaxy 500. I don't see any badge. Here we go. Yep. What a beautiful car. And here I pointed this out earlier on an Impala. Well, that was a different car show, but it was kind of mimicked the convertible top. I didn't know Ford did that. I've never noticed that before. But on the Impala, early Impala, like 63 Impala, they did that. So you can see that line across. It's kind of like a convertible top. So the cars are still coming in. And here comes a Cadillac. And behind that is a Chevy wagon. And they're still filing in, so I'm going to shut down for a little bit. And we'll catch you in a minute.